So I went to the beach, came back all burnt in the sun, and a nephew looked at me. He said, "You look like a red plastic bag." Competition taught me, having here, you can lose it.
You're watching Crosstalk Season 4.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Crosstalk. Mr. Bag.
Yes,
Actually, you know what? Let me start there, right?
Yeah.
Because in doing all of my research, all of my digging, I could not find how you ended up with a red plastic bag.
Kind of strange. When I was preparing for my first competition in 1979 in St Phillip, that was a little competition, and they wanted to have 5 people. They only had 4, and I decided I'm going to enter. 2 weeks before the competition, I had no stage name, and I said, "There's no way I'm going to go on stage with my real name, Stetson, which is too bland." So I went to the beach, came back all burnt in the sun, and a nephew looked at me. He said, "You look like a red plastic bag." I found it hilarious. I said, "You know what? I need that. I'm going to use that as my name." You know why? Because one, there's a color, there's something you can wave, and you can see what was the result. If I had to go back to 1979, I would choose that name all over again. Because everywhere I go, people, first question in an interview, "Where did you get that name?" Is as if, who crazy person could name themselves red plastic bag? The reality is, though, that there's a lot in a name. I mean, of course, you realize that there are bands like there are names like Black Eyed Peas, bands like Bare Naked Ladies, and so on. Things that are a little outside the proverbial box. Plus, in Calypso, you had Lord this body, King the next body, Mighty the next body. I wanted to appear almost insignificant. Red plastic bag, yeah, and I went from there.
Well, it's definitely not insignificant. No, I'll tell you that. It's so many years. You mentioned 1979. Actually, in my book of notes and wonders, I do have that jotted down here.
Right.
In competition since 1979. What has competition taught you over the years? Because you've been in several of them. What's being in competition taught you over the years?
It helps you to build character. It helps you to recognize that there are people out there that would have a different opinion about what you're doing. So I entered competition knowing that, one, if there's a chance of winning, there's obviously a chance of losing as well. And I try to gain something from every competition that I've ever been into. How can I improve here? How can I improve there? And I am a bit of an adrenaline junkie as well. I get excited by challenges. And going into competition, I used to have this extra burst of energy wanting to do well. People talk about nerves and those kind of things. Whenever I start to feel that level, I call it anxiety. And if you don't feel that, maybe you're not ready to go there. You feel that because you want to go and do well. But I always felt that rush of wanting to go and do well. And competition taught me also that, having here, you can lose it. You can actually lose it. I went into competition with all my hair, and I lost it. The pressure of expectation really caused me to go under tremendous stress. Even now, I still feel the pressure of people expecting me to do well. It's a standard by which they hold you out in a certain light, and they expect you to be like that always, but it's not easy.
You mentioned that pressure of expectation, and it's going to move me, I guess, a little further into our conversation, because I know that there were years that you took breaks from competitions. Would you say that that pressure was the reason for those breaks? Like, take me to those moments where you had to step away from the stage and the light.
Yeah, sometimes you can feel a little burnt out. There was a year in 1986 when it wasn't just the pressure of competition, but that was more of a protest in the year 1986 when we were pushing for more prize money. 1988 was definitely the pressure of competition. Plus, once I started to travel, performing overseas, performing in Barbados, the preparation for Calypso finals became more of a challenge. So there had times when I really felt burnt out, and just decided I needed a break. And sometimes you just need to step back a bit from things to take another look to see how, if you can actually improve your position within that frame.
No problem. Now, looking out over the years then, started competition in 1979. Your first year in Pickety Crop was what year?
1982.
1982. Good. Oh wait, you in that year too. So the first year in Pickety Crop, you won.
Strangely enough, I won my first 5 Calypso competitions. And I think that's where the pressure started. Most fans expected, big things from me always. And it put me under tremendous pressure all through my years of Calypso competition. And I've been around that competition for 30 years. Actually, I was in competition for 33 years, around the Pickety Crop for 30 years. I entered the Pickety Crop on 21 occasions. One actually was rained out, and I was part of 20 completed competitions. I had some good years. Enjoyed it tremendously. I won 10 of those 20. Came second maybe about 4 times, and third about maybe 3 times. So I had some good years in the competition, and I look back on it now and I smile, because a lot of people feel that competition is just about winning. Competition really is not just about winning. Competition helps you to build character, and it made me stronger. It made me better at communicating with people and being amongst people, because I grew up in a village way up in the countryside, pretty much in obscurity. I never used to be out and about, but what being on stage did for me was allow me to interact more with people, meet a lot of people all over the world, and it did a whole lot for me.
Interesting question though came to my mind based on the fact that you went over the years, and there's no doubt about it that you've dominated when it came to that scene. Was there a year that stood out more for you across that Pickety Crop scene? Obviously, you know that there are 10 wins in there, but was it a year that, whether or not it had to do with challenges or what you actually sang about? Actually, let's take it back a little bit. How did you go about deciding what you were going to sing in that year? Because there are a couple of songs that naturally stand out in my mind. So I know they got like Issues of the Year and all these different songs, but how did you go about deciding, okay, these are the topics that I want to discuss for this year?
Well, I am very cognizant of what is going on around me. I am very aware of what is going on around me. I keep my ears close to the ground. I listen to people, especially young people, and I hear what is going on. And sometimes you can feel a vibration that it speaks to you in terms of what people are thinking, what they're feeling, and that can drive you into conceptualizing something that encompasses that. Sometimes there's just some topics that are right in front of your face that you can write about, but because of my view of what a Calypsonian really is and who I am as a Calypsonian, to a large extent, I was guided by that. I recognized from following Calypso all through Trinidad and other Caribbean islands, that the Calypsonian was really a historian, people's newspaper, the mouthpiece of the masses. So I recognize that if I'm going to be on stage, I need to use that platform to represent the people who are from the low socioeconomic bracket, like myself, where I came from, and that those people needed voices to speak up for them, because they don't get the chance to go on stage. So that's why every time I went on stage, I saw the Calypso tent as my parliament. That was the place where I wanted to speak for the man who didn't have a chance to speak for himself. So I was guided a lot by that in terms of choosing the things that I should sing about. So knowing the plight of the ordinary man in the street, primarily bread and butter issues. Because a lot of the political things at a certain level, the ordinary man, he's not concerned with that. He's just concerned about how he's going to eat, how he's going to feed his children, how he's going to survive, how he's going to get his children to school, and all that. Those are the things that affect the ordinary man. And to a large extent, I stayed quite connected to those kind of issues.
All right, so within that then, was a year that stood out for you across those years and say, hey, this year for some reason felt as if beyond just winning, I've achieved what I want to do in terms of getting a particular message across?
Well, yeah, the year of issue of the day is one of the years that will stand out in terms of message.
That's why I say we must know who our heroes are. And we must hail them from near and from far. We must know famous from notorious. That is a must here in Barbados.
Because, you know, we have a way of, a lot of people nowadays only see what is happening now and pay attention to what is happening now. But lots of people came before us and did a lot of hard work and paved the way for all of us. And there was a calling program and they were talking about the builders of Barbados. A lot of talk about Grant Lee Adams and Aaron Barrow and all these people. And someone hinted that, you know, maybe you should remove Aaron Barrow Day. And the way they were talking about, the way the supporters of each side, the way they were talking about these two men, is as if they didn't really understand what these men contributed to the overall development of Barbados. So because the discussion was centered around Arabara Day, I felt I wanted to defend those people who felt that we should have kept the day. So that's why I composed the song, and I felt justified by performing that song on stage and winning with it in front of people who I felt agreed with what I was saying. So that was a time when the actual song itself made me feel as though I achieved what I wanted to achieve. And of course you can see that we still have an Arabara Day. And other times, well, the first year winning the Pick of the Crop would always stand out. That was interesting in so many ways, because it was me competing against people like Romeo and Gabby and all these people who, at the time, those were the people I had always loved to see and listen to. So here is all of a sudden I'm competing against these guys and winning. So that in itself was a game changer in terms of me feeling that my life had changed forever. Then the next year would have been 1998, singing a song called Material, when coming out of the semi-final. The comments were that I should not have made the final, and there were also usually before the final you will have the journalists giving their top three, and the highest ranking I got was somebody had me at a dark horse. I didn't get in anybody's top three. Somebody only had me at a dark horse. That was my highest ranking. So winning that year to me was special because I actually won that competition by 40 points. And that was special because I was driven by the negativity. And again, going back to the whole thing about the challenge and what it can do in terms of pushing me to do well. So you see, sometimes negative can inspire you. You know, you gotta be real about it, and you gotta listen to people, because I mean, maybe the people were justified. You know, and sometimes you just need to accept the fact that not everybody, you know, will be supporting you, but you can also take the opportunity to maybe prove them wrong. And I believe that on finals night I did, in terms of turning the whole thing around, where some people who I knew didn't want me in the final, they came up to me and they were bold enough to say to me, you won, you won. So yeah, you can turn around negatives. You can turn negatives around, turn negatives into positives, and I keep moving forward, remaining focused. You know?
It's just interesting watching you smile as you go through
these
stories.
You know, there are some amazing stories, really some amazing stories. Also, 2007, I didn't I won in 2002 and 2003. I didn't compete in 2004, 2005, not 2006. And all through those years, the Calypsonians were saying, I frightened, I ain't got no song, I this, and that kind of thing. I don't want to be beaten and that kind of thing. And I wrote a song called Look My Here. You know, that, you know, just like all the robbery at gunpoint in this country, look me here, right? So it was, to me, coming back into the competition and winning the competition with that song, that brought joy to my heart, especially to my fans. The fact, one, they wanted me back in competition, and two, that I was actually able to come back in the competition and win. And lastly, the last year in competition was special. I knew that I wasn't going to go back in the competition. It was my 30th year. And I said to myself, win, lose, or draw this competition, I am not going to go back in this competition. I've had, for my entire adult life at the time, fully engaged in being judged by 7 people. And I just wanted, sometimes you just need to know when to step off as well. And I felt that that was the time to do so. And being able to win my last competition, having won my first, it was really a good feeling. And I don't regret having left the competition, but I think that the competition is still there for those who want to build character and all that. Sometimes you can learn a lot from losing.
In all of that, you also mentioned your fans, and you know that they play a major part, you know, in what you've been able to do over the years. You know, some say, you know, people say you're almost like the Pied Piper when you step on a stage. You see other people come. I want you to take me to that national stadium environment, because as a youngster, I never got to be a part of that environment, but I do know that that played a major part in a lot of the Calypsonians' lives over the years. Describe, you know, what that was like, that national stadium atmosphere, hearing everybody, you know, up there.
The greatest atmosphere for our Calypso competition, always the national stadium. There was something about the national stadium that once the competition starts, the stadium came alive. Just to feel the way you know, the stands are set up and the people are in the stands, and you have the C stand with the red, all the red, and you have all the other stands with all different people supporting other people, etc. And then you have the grounds. The energy that we felt at the National Stadium was always great. And I remember my first year in competition, I could not believe what I was seeing. Well over 20,000 people in the stadium in a competition that the year before, I don't even know that they had 5,000. So, and seeing all the red and people waving, etc. To me, that was an awesome feeling. It said to me then that we had to be doing something right, that people are able to, that people feel that they should come out and give it that level of support.
As we begin to come to the end of this conversation, you've had several years now in the industry. I don't want to say you're at the back end of it, but you know, what do you see your contribution as, your role as, now that you've stepped away from competition? You know, you're still obviously performing in Barbados and around the world. You know, what do you see, you know, your role as now?
I want to see more young people get involved in actually composing their songs. I think you feel a greater conviction when you actually conceptualize your song and you compose it. And I would like to be part of any process that helps young people to learn how to actually compose. I want to be part of anything that is about mentorship. I see mentorship, I don't ever see mentorship in a vacuum. I don't see mentorship like you're mentoring about Calypso or mentoring about cricket. I believe that when you're dealing with young people especially, you got to be teaching them life in a broad way so that they understand why you're telling them to do things a certain way. And I want to be part of that process. I still believe that we have a lot of talent here in Barbados, and I would like to be part of any program that is set out to help to develop that talent.
When you look back at when you started and where you are now, would you say that you tick the boxes of what you set out to do? in the area of Calypso, in the area of soca, just in the area of music?
Yeah, well, what really, what was most important to me was the fact that my fans were happy. And I'm happy that I was able to make fans happy with the music, because for me, victory was not being crowned Calypso monarch. My victory was being able to conceptualize a song, write it, record it, and put it out, and people can relate to it and enjoy it. To me, that's the victory. Going into a competition and winning, that's another thing. But the fact that I was able to make so many people happy, to me, that is the greatest feeling.
Well, mine ain't hard enough, Jesse. I got one more question for you. Sorry for keeping you in the ring, right?
No problem.
But if you had to give your story a title, this is something I'm asking everybody on the season. If you have to give your story a title, what would you title it as?
Maybe from the village road to the highway.
I like that one, from the village road to the highway.
Meaning from the dark streets of the countryside to the illuminated highway. But that is the essence of it. But maybe painting the tongue red.
I'll write that book for you. Plastic Bag, it's been an absolute pleasure having you.
That was a pleasure. That was a pleasure. And remember, rule number one, don't call me Mr. Wilshire and crop over.
I got you covered. I got you covered. But now, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure, and just continue doing exactly as you're doing, because,
always a pleasure. I love my country, and anything I can do for the development of my country, I'm prepared to do. I want to encourage people always to embrace what we have here and love up your country. I mean, this is where we live. This is our home. Love up your country and do all in your power to keep it safe.
And on that note, that's a wrap.
Peace.